Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are pleased to have the association of His Grace Srinivas Gopal Prabhu, who will be sharing the nectar from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 6, chapter number 1, Shloka number 54. Prabhuji, over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Sunvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti survasatam Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Dear devotees, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Thanks for providing this seva opportunity. Though not qualified, not realized, I will repeat what I heard for my own purification and for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga. I seek all your blessings of all the senior devotees, all the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis on the call. Hare Krishna. Today's verse is from Canto 6, Chapter 1, verse 54. Labdva nimittam avyaktam vyaktya vyakyam bhavati uta yata yoni yata bijam svabhavena baliyasa. Labdva nimittam avyaktam vyaktya vyakyam bhavati uta yata yoni yata bijam svabhavena baliyasa. Labdva nimittam avyaktam vyaktya vyakyam bhavati uta yata yoni yata bijam svabhavena baliyasa. Synonyms and translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Synonyms: labdva, having gotten; nimittam, the cause; avyaktam, unseen or unknown to the person; vyaktya avyaktam, manifested, manifested and unmanifested, or the gross body and the subtle body; bhavati, come into being; uta, certainly; yata, yoni, exactly like mother; yata, bijam, exactly like the father; swabhavena, by the natural tendency; bali yasa, which is very powerful. Translation: the fruitive activities a living entity, a living being performs, whether pious or impious, are the unseen cause for the fulfillment of his desires. This unseen cause is the root for the living entity's different bodies. Because of his intense desire, the living entity takes birth in a particular family and receives a body which is either like that of his mother or like that of his father. The gross and subtle bodies are created according to his desire. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The gross body is a product of the subtle body, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan tvajanti ante kalevaram tam tam yevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. The atmosphere of the subtle body at the time of death is created by the activities of the gross body. Thus, the gross body acts during one's lifetime and the subtle body acts at the time of death. The subtle body, which is called linga, the body of desire, is the background for the development of a particular type of gross body, which is either like that of one's mother or like that of one's father. According to the Rig Veda, if the time of sex, the secretions of the mother are more profuse than those of the father. The child will receive a female body, and if the secretions of the father are more profuse than those of mother, the child will receive the male body. These are the subtle laws of nature which act according to the desires of the living entity. If a human being is taught to change his subtle body by developing a consciousness of Krishna at the time of death, the subtle body will create a gross body in which he will be a devotee of Krishna, or if he is still more perfect, he will not take another material body but will immediately get a spiritual body and thus return home back to Godhead. This is the process of transmigration of the soul. Therefore, instead of trying to unite human society through facts for sense gratification that can never be achieved, it is clearly desirable to teach people how to become Krishna consciousness and return home back to Godhead. This is true now and indeed at any time. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवां च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमावों विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्या देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे. Dear devotees, for the context for today's verse is that the Yamadutas giving philosophy to the Vishnudutas. The story so far, you all know that in the fifth canto, after hearing the so many hells, Parikshit Maharaj asks Sukadeva Goswami, how can we avoid such a terrible destination? Is there a possibility? So sixth canto is all about protection. Sukadeva Goswami responds with a with a, with the dynamic story of the Ajamila. The quick summary of Ajamila, right? Even most of you are aware of it. So he was born in Brahmana family, properly trained from the young age. At the age of 25th, just with for a single glance, he had a prostitute and a Shudra were embracing. He was he basically fall down, and after that overall he lived sinfully for 88 years, and he named his 10th son as Narayana. At the time of death he called his son Narayana without any anarthas. So the Vishnutas came and they challenged Yamaduta's authority. So both of them came. So then Vishnutas basically challenging Yamaduta's authority. So it was a great debate. When questioned by the Vishnutas, the Yamadutas didn't get defensive. Instead, they gave the complete philosophy on karma, dharma, and the transmigration. So in this particular section, verses from 41 to 61, they basically talked about all these three aspects. Today's verse is basically talks about how does karma work, and also how does the transmigration process work, and also how does unseen cause create the visible effects. Quickly, we'll recite verse one more time. Labdva nimittam avyaktam vyaktya vyaktyam bhavati uta yata yoni yata bijam swabhavena baliyasa. So, labdva, having obtained, nimittam, the cause, avyaktam, that is which is invisible. So in this case, it's karma. Vyaktya avyaktam, both the manifested gross body and unmanifested subtle body. Bhavati becomes created. Uta, indeed. Yata yoni, according to the species or mother's womb. Yata bijam, according to the seed given by the father. Swabhavena, by one's own accumulated nature. Bali yasa, which is irresistibly powerful. So, just a quick translation on this. Our past karma, right, which is invisible, and that's what it's basically talking about, avyaktam, which creates both our visible body, the what we see, the gross body, and our invisible body, the mind, intelligence, and false ego. We get exact body type, parents, and genetics that match our karma. This happens by the power of our own accumulated nature, which is so strong we cannot change it by our own effort. The only way it can be changed with the association of devotees and by rendering the loving devotional service. So this particular verse typically has maybe few concepts. The one concept one is avyaktam nimittam. It's basically like the invisible cause. So avyaktam, that means which is invisible and unmanifest and subtle. Nimittam, the cause or the reason or the instrument. This both together, the invisible cause creates the visible effects what we see. That is basically we call it as karma. So one could ask the question, right? Why karma is invisible? There are many factors. One is basically, as Acharya has mentioned, is temporal invisibility, because this karma is complicated. We might be carrying, we might have done something many years back, and it might have happened many lifetimes back, so we don't remember. So in case of Dhritarashtra, right, in order to take birth, and he has to go through many lifetimes to the karma to manifest. And also, like I'm sure most of you, sometimes there are different kinds of plants, right? Some plants, if you put a seed, they'll give the results in a matter of weeks, months. Some takes years. So it's one is karma is temporal invisibility. Other is causal invisibility, because sometimes we won't be able to actually relate something is happening to me or whatever, right? Like, and because it is happening because of some activity we have done many lifetimes back. So some are immediately apparent, some are not. If you are fortunate enough, Lord can make those activities immediately available in this life, but most of the times it's takes many lifetimes. Then operational invisibility. So because we most of the times, right, we try to look at from logic, reasoning, and try to connect the things, but karma is complicated and it's beyond our sense perception. So we won't be able to really exactly see the full picture. And also there is not there is also quantity, right? How much bag we have, this karmic bondage. There is no way we can actually see that. So because of that, it's highly invisible. But we all see the results. The results, like our body, the situation where we are in our jobs, our balls, or like our talents, our abilities, or the things we get attracted to, the circumstances we put on. So all these basically the results of our karma. Okay. And one simple analogy you can take about is, like, most of you use smartphones, computers. Like, you see a lot of things on the screen, but they are not, that is somebody has to actually program, so that's where you can see them. Similarly, a lot of things happening in our life, right? Those are the manifestations of the karma, what we have done in the past. The next one is Vyaktya Avyaktam. The two bodies, like the creator, because of the so the karma actually gives the our past karma gives the blueprint. Based on the blueprint, now there will be two bodies will be created. One is the grass, another is subtle. Vyaktya, grass body that is visible. It is made of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, that we all can feel, touch, see, right? The avyakta, the unmanifest, invisible actually. It's, though some level it could be, one could say it's manifested too, but it's invisible from from a sense. It is made of three components: the mind, intelligence, and false ego. Mind, thinking, feeling; intelligence, the deciding factor or discriminating; false ego, ahankara, I am this body, right? So, so this both karma creates this both simultaneously. So now, like you can, like, are there any pastimes that can help us understand this, right? Like from the Bhagavatam, 8th canto, most of you are familiar with the Gajendra pastime, right? The Gajendra was a previous life was a king in the dunya. He was a righteous king in part of South India. He was best known for his spiritual activities. He was devoted to Lord Vishnu. He performed regular worship and austerities, and he used to do all the prayers. And then one day, when Agastya Muni comes, he neglected, or maybe a divine providence, he was not able to receive him properly. Because of that, Agastya Muni cursed him. So cursed him to become an Gajendra, or elephant, in next life. So and Indra took as a divine mercy, and he was able to take that curse, right? So, but the king was a devotee. He accepted the Agastya Muni's curse, and he understood that it's the desire of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, in the next life, he got the body of an elephant. Because of the devotional service, he remembered how to worship and offer prayers to the Lord. So whatever the samskaras he has developed part of King Narsimha, they carried along with his subtle body to the next life. So if you see, there is a transformation process, right? Past life, he was a human king, but because of the curse, he becomes, because of the curse, and but because of the devotional training, like Anshikshitam, whatever he has done, and then he was able to remember the past life things, and all the activities he has done, the relation with the Lord, and all the karmic reactions. Those were carried in his subtle body to the next life. The next life, he got a body of an elephant, but at the crisis when the crocodile hits, right, he was able to bring out with the Lord's mercy all the prayers. So that gives a case study that the whatever the activities are done once, life actually carries from one life to the next life in the part of subtle body. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Bhartamara story as well. So in Bhagavad Gita 6.40, it says tatratam buddhi samyogam labate paura dehikam yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddhav kurunandana. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of the his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. O son of Guru. So it's basically like, again, whatever the activities we have done on the path of spirituality, we never lose them. We continue. So, what is the practical application in our lives, right? The time we spent in either doing japa, or hearing Bhagavatam classes, or attending and performing kirtan, or deity worship, or service, or any activities we do, we basically carry to next life. But on the opposite side, whatever the activities on the material platform, they will be lost at the end of this life. And also, like, because of all these activities, we whatever the activities we perform in the on the spiritual activities, even a dangerous situation happens, like happened to Ajamila or happened to the Gajendra, these impressions remains in our subtle body and will manifest when needed. So So and the Srila Prabhupada, many teachings were there on samskaras. Prabhupada consistently taught that devotional impressions are never lost. He basically explains the subtle body carries all our impressions from one life to next. This is why prodigies exist. They haven't learned music or mathematics in this life. They are continuing from previous life. Similarly, devotional training creates eternal impressions that will manifest when needed. What is the guarantee? Again, Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 2.4, Neha Vikrama Nasusti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpam Apyasya Dharmasya Trayato Mahato Bhayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So any work begun on the material plane has to become, otherwise whole attempt becomes failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even if it is not finished. So we talked about two things like nimittam avyaktam, vyaktya avyakta. And the next one is yata yoni, yata bijam, the perfect matching system. So this is such a complicated system, right? Based on the karmic footprint or based on whatever the life we have gone through, at the end of the death, right, it is basically carried part of the subtle body to the next. Now, that whatever happens throughout the life, that basically creates a blueprint for the next life. Now, I'm sure most of you had some idea what blueprint means. Like there are different kinds of houses people want to build. Different houses needs a different blueprint, and in order to execute that blueprint, you need different materials, you need different arrangement. Similarly, the perfect matching system as done by, which basically overseen by the super soul, based on the blueprint that is basically created by an individual according to the activity as done. The subtle body, according to that blueprint. So using that blueprint, he has to take another body. He or she has to either whichever the form, right? Either is a human or species or whatever. So the blueprint has to be manifested. In order to manifest, it needs a um, yoni or womb, and also it needs a seed. So again, in the in order to actually um, like when a union happens, right? There are many sperms, many things happens, but there has to be a specific combination of the um, in order to make this blueprint reality, there has to be a specific combination of the materials, right? Materials or comes in the form of genes or DNA. So the matching system has to be perfect to match a perfect father, perfect mother, perfect time, and also perfect species, a perfect seed that basically gives rise to a new body or new entity based on the blueprint one creates his own lifetime. So how this matching works? So we have our karma, past actions and desires. Super soul is basically is the one analyzes and matches with the then finds the parents with exact whoever can actually capable to bring back the based on that blueprint, who can make that blueprint a reality. That's like so that that's why like you have mother and father, they basically that gives rise to the body. So this is the perfect matching system. So like I'm sure some of you coming from a farmer background, right? A farmer had two seeds that looks identical. He planted them in the same soil, gave them same water, same sunlight, exactly same. But one tree become mango, other become neem tree. A curious neighbor asked, same soil, same water, same care. Why different trees? The farmer replied, because the seed bijam was different. External conditions are same. And also to the extent the uni also, right? Same thing, the soil sometimes there are different natures of the soil also. All the people the same seed may not um, give rise a similar, I mean it may not grow on all like different soils have different levels of pH level. So you have to have perfect seed. You also have to have perfect the soil that is suitable. And so that way you can understand even analogy of a seed. And so in order for the manifest, the blueprint there in the seed to become a plant or a tree, the seed that has comes from the father, and also the yoni and the environment has to be perfectly matched. So this is a perfect matching system. So now there's probably we come across this question, right? Scientific, like maybe when you come across some science students or some, they may argue, right? They may argue basically uh, this is basically say it's everything about genes, nothing they only talk about, right? Like they basically talk about how we inherit our bodily features, or how we inherit some of the disease conditions like diabetes, etc., etc. And they talk about how various genetic combination works. So basically they attribute everything to the combination of genes, etc. But the modern science cannot explain, like why this specific soul has chosen only these parents, and what determines this genetic combination, that man, like why I was as an individual, why I was chosen certain combination of genes, why it doesn't talk explain. And also it doesn't talk about where actually the consciousness comes from. But also even for the same father and mother, the millions of possibilities happens, but why only this specific combination of so that's basically that the both can be integrated well, but basically the where modern science cannot explain, that is the explanation given by this perfect matching system. I mean, I'm sure you might have seen many scenarios, same family, same father, same mother, you have different kids, they have totally like some like certain things, some don't like certain things, some are good in certain things, and it's the same, everything is same. So that gives an explanation how how the blueprint actually created based on one's own desires and actions as performed in the previous life or previous life, that gives rise to a new um, two new bodies, obviously, like one the physical body what we see, one the subtle body what we don't see. The next is the Swabhavena Baliyasa, the irresistible nature. So this basically Swa means one's own, Bhava, nature, condition, and state. So this is composed of all our samskaras from various lives we gone through, and also the vasanas, or the subtle desires which are lingering still. And these, and also we are all as soon as we come in contact with the material nature, we are influenced with the modes, right? Both the influence, the karmic conditioning we have through the modes, sattva and rajas and tama. The baliyasa, these are most powerful, irresistible. That means we cannot change it by our willpower alone, cannot overcome by any education, therapy, philosophy, etc. Cannot be suppressed. So how we can overcome? Only by taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, taking to the process of Krishna consciousness. So one story, the story on a Swabhava, right? Can a snake stop biting, right? Can a scorpion? That is the true nature of the snake or scorpion, right? It's extremely difficult for them to change this nature through their own effort. It's been built over many year lives, right? But remember, we all know the story of Kalia, right? Even the deadly serpent Kalia, whose very breath was venomous and poisonous, whose nature was to kill, had his Swabhava completely transformed when Lord Krishna danced on his hoods. The touch of Krishna's lotus feet changed what millions of years of evolution as a serpent could not change. Similarly, even in our lives, we perfect our lives, or at least we connect with parampara, make ourselves for the instruments in the service of the Lord. Definitely, our current swabhava can be transformed, and we will be able to realize our real swarupa. So our accumulated nature built over many, many years, it is incredible, but Krishna's spiritual energy is infinitely more powerful. In Kali Yuga, Lord is so merciful, and he has given in the form of holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Srila Prabhupada basically has given many instructions on this process, how we can actually change our nature. He basically said we have the only best way is to engage in the Lord service, right? So we cannot fight our nature because that is comes. Only way is to engage, and also the application, right? We cannot fight our. I mean, I'm sure most of us have some anarthas, or we are struggling with anger, lust, greed, etc., etc. They are all too strong. What? How can we overcome? Right? Pour water at the spiritual root. That means taking to the process seriously, reading the cultivation of the devotional service by regular practices, by reading Bhagavatam and associating with devotees, perform the deity worship, serving the Vaishnavas. And also we have to understand the inevitable nature, right? I mean, the swabhava is so strong, as like most of you are familiar, and the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sadrusham chestate swashyaha prakriter jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. Even a person of knowledge acts according to the own nature, prakriti. All living beings follow their nature. What can repression accomplish? So it is very the key point is that knowledge alone cannot overcome our Shubhava. Philosophy cannot alone change. Only the practice of loving devotional service only can transform our nature. So in this regarding, right, I mean, the perfect story where in the sixth canto is the Ajamila Swabhava. I mean, even though he was the only way he was able to overcome, right, by actually the some or the other, he named his son as Narayana, and he was able to call him Narayana without any anarthas or offenses. So that basically the power of Bhakti Shakti is protected him and protected all the sins he has committed entire his life. Okay, so the only solution is to taking shelter of the Lord, and also when we come to this material world, right, we are most of us, at least I can say myself, right, we are under the influence of Maya. The only way we can overcome Maya is to take the shelter of the Supreme Lord, as said in Bhagavad Gita, Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mammaya Durataya Mam Evaisha Prapadyante Mayam Yetam Tarantite. The divine energy of mind consisting of three modes of material nature is impossible to overcome. Impossible. Duratyaya. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So the complete process is Swabhava is Duratya is very difficult. So the only way we can easily overcome is to take shelter of the Supreme Lord shelter, and the Lord's follow the process given by Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. So the from few points from the purport. The one is that why I don't have too much information on this, but as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, why one get a female body, one get a male body, according to the secretions which are more. The other subtle laws of nature, right? Grass body is a product of subtle body, so we have to see like whatever the like when the transmigration happens, all the blueprint is transmitted from gross to subtle, and based on the blueprint your actually body will be given. The process of transmission, basically human being can be taught to change the subtle body by developing Krishna consciousness at the time of death, but actually we cannot. We have to follow entire life. So the transmigration process explained. The one point at the end of the purport, Prabhupada talks about the universal principle. Instead of trying to unite human society through facts for sense gratification that can never be achieved, it is clearly desirable to teach people how to become Krishna conscious and return home back to Godhead. This is true now and did it any time. So that is Prabhupada emphatically mentions on this towards the end of the purport. This basically is the summary of this. Just is that there are many philanthropic activities or many advancements happens, but most of the times the problem is shifted from place A to place B, So there are many examples as given by the blowing the when the boil happens on a body, like by just blowing it won't be solved. Or there is things like emptying the ocean. All the modern advancements, like they all gives rise to they shift the problem from place A to place B. The only true solution is to taking to the Krishna consciousness is one. We have to take up that seriously. Then also we have to give it to others. So this is the process Prabhupada helped us, and he basically put the system in place so that we can actually overcome our swabhava and also help others. So some notes from the acharyas, like from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on the Labdva Nimittam Avyaktam. The word Avyaktam refers to karma, which exists in two forms, prarabdha and aprarabdha. Prarabdha, that which has already begun giving results in this life. Aprarabdha, which is stored, that is basically waiting to fructify. The invisible karma is nimittam, right? Nimitta of all bodily conditions. The on Vyaktya Vyaktyam, the Vyaktya manifesta refers to gross body made of five elements, which is visible to eyes. The Avyakta refers to subtle body composed of mind, intelligence, and false ego, which cannot be seen but whose effects we can actually feel. Both are actually created simultaneously by karma, like a tree that has both visible branches and invisible roots. You cannot have one without the other. On Yata Yoni, Yata Bijam, this shows the precision of karmic system. Yata Yoni means according to the mother's womb and the species, whether human, animal, or demigods. Yata Bijam means according to the father's seed, that's a specific bodily characteristic within that species or emerges. So, I mean, we have seen this example, even though the two children from the same parents, they have different bodies because they have their blueprint is different. Though they may appear um, some aspects may appear same, but a lot of aspects are different. On swabhavena baliyasa, the word swabhava is most significant. It is composed of swa and bhava. This is accumulated nature is called baliyasa for three reasons. It spans countless lifetimes. It cannot be changed by material means. It works through the three modes. The only power stronger than swabhava is the devotional bhakti shakti. So the three-step process of embodiment given by I think somewhere another Acharya, I think Srila Jiva Goswami. The invisible cause, the soul at the moment of death carries with the subtle body containing all karmic impressions. These impressions are avyaktam, invisible to materialize, but more real than anything visible. This is the nimittam, instrumental cause of the next birth. Like a seed contains the invisible blueprint for a tree, a subtle body contains the invisible blueprint for the next gross body. The material platform. The super soul Paramatma, who witnesses all our actions and knows all karmic accounts, arranges the soul meet the specific parents whose combination of Bijam and Oni perfectly matches the soul's karma. Nothing is accidental. Even what appears as random in biological combination is precisely orchestrated by the super soul. And the manifestation, both bodies manifest simultaneously, Vyaktya, Avyakta, gross and subtle. They work together like hardware and software, in if you analogy. Hardware without software is useless. Software without hardware cannot function. So the entire system operates Swabhavena Baliyasa by irresistible power of one's accumulated nature. This is why material remedies fail. Only Krishna Bhakti can interrupt this cycle because it engages the power superior to the material nature. Okay, so for the, I mean, just application in our Grihastha life, right? This question would come some, I mean, at least this you can actually analyze a bit more on this particular verse. Why might few, I mean, if you have two kids, are like, why those are different despite the same upbringing? Like some maybe we have this challenge, right? Some are, if maybe one kid is inclined to devotional, other kid is not. So teaching from this verse, right? Each child has a different nimittam avyaktam, invisible karma from past lives. But even though it's the same yoni, same bijam, but different souls with different karmic patterns. So what we need, a practical application, at least I can apply in my life, is to understand, at least, is recognize each child's unique karma and past. Train them Krishna consciousness according to their individual nature. Don't expect all children to be identical. Focus on spiritual development, not on material comparison. Respect their individuality. So practical applications is child, one child naturally studious, another could be athletic. So we have to fan whatever the thing they have. So in conclusion summary, the three essential teachings from this particular verse: karma is real and powerful, but it is invisible but more powerful than anything visible. Creates both gross and subtle body. Operates, it's a precision, it's nothing magic, in sense that the mother and father are randomly, it's nothing is random. Everything has chosen by the super soul's arrangement of perfect matching system. And past actions determine present circumstances with perfect justice. Bodies are precisely matched. That the gross and total bodies created simultaneously by karma. The yoni and bijam are perfectly matched to give a life to that blueprint which was there in the subtle body. Who is the coordinator? Super soul coordinates the soul parent connection flawlessly. Nothing is random. Only we all have our svava. The only way to transform is to the bhakti. The complete process is the past life, like whatever the past life or lives, we have actions and desires. These are samskaras, vasanas inbuilt. Those are packaged at the time of death. Gross body drops and subtle body continues. And invisible karma stored in the subtle body, nimittam avyaktam. The super soul basically is the analyzes or incense super soul is looks into our karmic account, and based on um, the the blueprint in the subtle body, it will take the soul or match that particular um, subtle body and soul to a proper father and mother, so that again the gross and subtle bodies will manifest in case of any um, material karmic footprint still left. But if you are pure, if you are a devotee and there's nothing left, then there's no there's no birth. You basically go back to home Godhead. And so once you take a new birth, and again you are controlled by each of us controlled by the accumulated nature. Again the cycle continues. The only way to break this cycle is to take up to the process of devotional service, and then transcend all this in and transcend all this by the grace of Guru and Gauranga. And also, I mean, there may be sometimes science versus Vedas, right? Both are actually well integrated, where karma helps the blueprint, gene just a mechanism, right? In order to this blueprint to manifest, you need certain father, certain mother, certain physical things to, right? So it's just a both actually coexist, both actually answers all the questions. So what is the application in our lives? So we have to understand that the urgency, right? Time is running out, death is certain, and time is also uncertain. We don't know when we're going to meet. And also among all the 8.4 million species of life, human species is very rare opportunity, and it is most precious, and we have to take it seriously to the process of Krishna consciousness. And also the humility, right? We cannot save ourselves by our own tiny power, right? I mean, you have seen the examples of the exalted devotees like either Bharat Maharaj or Indralnya Maharaj, or even the case of Ajamila, right? So we only have our tiny power. Material nature is so strong. We need the help of Krishna and his devotees. What is the hope we have? Bhakti can save me despite any amount of karma. I mean, this example of Ajamila, right, gives a hope that even though we may not be pure, we may have so many um, so much of baggage, but by taking to the process of devotional service, it can uproot all of them. And as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, right, the compassion. So we need to, as the practicing devotees, we need to, I mean, in this world, everybody is struggling with their own svabhava. Nobody is exempted. So we have to help ourselves, we have to help others, and also we have to be careful. We should not judge, right? In sense, I mean, I mean, in a sense, we're all patients. We are all in the hospital, and everybody is taking treatment. So we just have to be careful. I think this is one of the biggest is the Vaishnava aparadas, so that impede our progress on the path. And we also feel gratitude. We should thank Krishna, Prabhupada, all the gurus, and all the Vaishnavis for helping us progress on this path. And the parampara, especially preserving this knowledge and giving back. And also we should, with the determination, right? I mean, yes, as I think one of the thing is required determination and intelligence to practice seriously. So we should not take up this human form of life easily. So we have to help each other to as the understanding of this particular words, that we carry all the things, but that could be, all those things could be easily overcome by taking to the process of Krishna consciousness. So what is the ultimate guarantee? As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. The promise, no matter what your karma was, no matter how powerful your swabhava is, no matter how many lifetimes of conditioning, no matter how fallen we all, if we take shelter to the Krishna through this process, guaranteed liberation. This is Krishna's personal promise. He didn't say might be saved or probably saved. He said, na pranashyati, never perishes. The absolute guarantee. So with that, I will stop here. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Any comments? Any corrections?
Haribol Prabhu, excellent explanation regarding karmic reaction and how birth is taking place, how progeny is taking place. Great. Thank you for a good relationship, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
And very nicely you said, Bhakti can save alone. Yes, nothing else can this thing. Whatever age, doesn't matter. If we can start in the devotional service, that will help us. Thank you very much for the wonderful lecture, Prabhu. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I understood why we have to remember every moment God, so that we can, after the death, we can reach the God from the subtle body than this gross body.
Yes, Prabhu. What we go through in our life, right? The gross body basically, as you know, it's left behind. That information is basically carried to the subtle body to next life.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
But Prabhu, they say when we cross the Viraja river, even we forget everything. That
Mataji,
also will go away, they say.
yes, Mataji. My understanding, Dash can correct me. Like the subtle body is only exists in the material world. Once you go to spiritual world, you only have your true swarupas, the spiritual
True
nature.
ego.
Yeah.
Then, but because Krishna knows everything, he will decide based on the previous karmas of us, Prabhu. Is that so?
Both. It's basically whatever the desires we have, right? It's as you see, like whatever the activities we have done, and as you see, like at the end of the death, whatever the consciousness we have, in order to fulfill those desires, Krishna has to give a body. the system, the perfect matching system, the super soul basically finds. But if our desire is that we don't have any material desires, the only desire is to serve the Supreme Lord, and we perfect our lives, then he basically, okay, then there's no longer a material body is needed in this material world, and we all go back to Godhead. So it's a yes, Krishna facilitates sanctions, but it also our desire and our activities is more important also.
It's true. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Dandavad Prabhu.
Can we end, or you have going to Sankarshan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Can you just give me the gist of few points, Prabhu, of the class, because I had some internet problem.
Sure, Mata. Gist is basically uh, um, as we go through this life or many lives, we have many um, actions we do. All these actions basically as gives our samskaras and vasanas. We actually create them over many lifetimes. At the end of the death, this basically goes part of your subtle body. Now, in order to fulfill those desires or whatever the things we have, we need another body. So, but how do we get another body? The blueprint is basically carried in the subtle body. The super soul basically facilitates finding the right father, right mother, so that we get a body where, when you get two bodies, you get the gross body and subtle body, where these desires are fulfilled. But the whole gist of this is that this process continuously goes on eternity. But so now how do we break this process? The only way to break this process is to take up to the Krishna consciousness and follow the process given by acharyas, so that even though it is difficult to overcome, Lord promises that he will basically, by his mercy and his devotees' mercy, we will be able to burn all the sins and get out of all this karmic footprint. Eventually, we can go back to Godhead and serve him eternally.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
And so maybe if you have a couple of minutes, maybe I can just. So the few questions might come up, right? If Swabhava is so powerful, can I change? I can't change it. Do I have a free will? That's a question, right? So, I mean, we all have free will, and Swabhava is so powerful. So, how do we execute free will in the context of Swabhava? And our free will is, yes, we can execute, but free will is limited, depends on, I mean, different species or even the human beings also, depends on our nature of influence, right? Our free will be limited. So, an example, right? If you are swimming in a strong river, like basically if you're in a river which is current is heavy, we cannot swim against by our own power. The current is too strong. But if we can grab a rope by someone and on the shore, we can get over to it, or swim across in the direction and reach to the shore. So we cannot totally change our nature or our swabhava by our willpower alone. But we have to, again, time and time again, we have to see, understand the importance of association of devotees, importance of the process given. That only the saving grace. But our own efforts, I mean, again, we have seen the examples of Ajamila, many stories, right? Those are illustrated that our own efforts, it's very difficult to overcome because Maya is so powerful. Okay, So next question is basically sometimes we see like some instances where somebody may have some disability or somebody have some situation. Do we use just karma as a do we just say that okay, it's your karma and we will be like cold-hearted or hard-hearted? No, I think we should not use that that to label them or so we should show compassion and we should understand the full picture. So basically we say we need to know that there are different circumstances. Some it's as itself karma is quantity of karmic footprint is very difficult to understand. So we have to be very, very careful. We should remove the judgment angle. We have to bring in the compassion. But whereas it comes to our own lives, so we have to use the lens through the karma aspect. So that's very, very careful. The other question we might come across is, can Krishna consciousness change my current body or only the next one? This is the right. As we have two bodies, gross and subtle. Right, gross is already formed to the extent. I mean, it's completely most of the times, right? It's already formed, cannot change the fundamental structure, but this gross body can be spiritualized, like like this body can be engaged in the Lord service, then it can be spiritualized. When we use our body in Krishna service, it's no longer material. It's as good as spiritual. But the maybe external structure you may not be able to change it, but internally it's spiritual. So, and what about subtle body? So subtle body is not only carrying the impressions from this life, right? It's carrying for many lives. So subtle body can be completely transformed. This is through Bhakti Yoga, right? The change, this transformation of the subtle body, again, by following the process, right? I mean, by chanting and by cleansing all that, we can actually transform our subtle body. So the examples we have seen from the Gajendra, right? The gross body remained as an elephant body, but subtle body completely transformed during the crisis, right? During the crisis, he fought for almost 1,000 years. Eventually, by the Lord's mercy, he was able to remember the um, prayers he was offering in the previous life, and it's basically completely eliminated. Even though in the Gajendra's life, and he has Balamada. I mean, he's basically elephant, and he was huge, and everybody was feared in the forest, and he was surrounded by many female elephants. Even though many of those things were there, but those impressions were there, but they were all transformed by the crisis he has and surrendering to the Supreme Lord. So what the process, like material body, material conscience, the material existence, material body, spiritual consciousness, that is a transitional stage. The spiritual body and spiritual consciousness, that basically getting over this whole process. This one interesting one about how does this relate to the modern genetics and DNA. I don't know whether I have any many Shastic references, but it's on my own interest to just poking a little bit to see how these both align or both different. So modern science says DNA from the parents determines physical characteristics. Genetic combination creates variations among siblings. Environment influence gene expressions. They call it as epigenetics or whatever. Mutation can occur during the DNA replication. So this is 100% correct at the material and mechanical level. But what Vedic science adds, karma determines which DNA combinations we receive from the available parent pool. This is super soul orchestrates the perfect match between the soul and genetics. Consciousness animates the material body. Without it is dead. Past life tendencies influence which genes are activated. So this is the one way we can actually, I mean, you can integrate both of them. So same the example we can understand, right? Same parents can have children with different traits, right? Material explanation, they different sperm egg combination from same genetic pool, right? Even though billions of possibilities, but they attribute to the randomness. Whereas the Vedas, right, basically different souls with different karma, selecting different combinations from that pool is orchestrated by the super soul. So the complete formula is karma is basically the blueprint that orchestrated by the super soul to find out the right father, right match, right time to union, right time to give the perfect the seed, and so that basically gives rise to the specific body. So I think that's one of interesting aspect. Something can be studied more to make it make it appealing to the preaching tool for the modern youth. Thank you. I think it's time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. One small question, Prabhu.
Yes,
Like always, Srila Prabhupada tells, makes this life your last life.
yes, Mataji.
So it's so difficult, no, Prabhu, to come to that stage. Any hints or any this thing for us to do sadhana, Prabhu, nicely.
Yes, Mataji. I mean, it's all process is given. I think we have to take the association of the Vaishnavas and follow the process. That's all. I think auto process already given. So I think that as Prabhupada was saying many times, right, our own efforts, it's very difficult. So we have to hold on to gurus and acharyas and other Vaishnavas. So,
Their mercy, we need. Guru and
yes,
Gauranga.
yes,
Thanks,
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam. Thanks for the wonderful class.
Thank you very much, Srinivas Gopal Prabhu, for the wonderful class. And are there any comments or reflections from the devotees?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, when I was studying medicine, we used to think this genetic combination is just like a lottery. Whoever gets the best genes are really lucky. But now I understand that it is all how super soul works so wonderfully. Prabhu, the Lord is so great, and how he fulfills the desires at the same time gives us shastras, and he comes down as incarnations to change us. Prabhu, your class was wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
If there are no questions, we can end today's session. Vaishnava Prabhu.
Sarvasa Kripa Nibhyevacha Patitanam Pavane Vaishnava
श्रीमद भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, निताय गौर की मोहन। Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, devotees. We'll end the session now.
Hare Krishna,
We'll meet
Dandavat
again tomorrow
Pranam.
morning.
Hare Krishna.